Hello class, welcome back to Photo 125, Photo Business Operations. In this video we're going to be talking about marketing materials, how they're important, and we're going to go through briefly where you can get business cards printed and how to make them. So first off, we need to talk about what sort of materials people use for their to promote their businesses. The obvious classic is the business card, which we're going to look at in this video. There's also other things that we could sort of categorize broadly as leave-behinds, but it's really any printed material that you're going to leave with a client or potential client. To give you an idea of some of the other things that might fall under that category of leave-behinds, I want to show you just a couple of snapshots of something that I use. I made this little 8 by 8 inch square kind of magazine style leave-behind to give to some of my clients or somebody who's potentially going to be a client, and I want to convince them that I'm the guy for the job. So has kind of a range of some of the different things that I've done. Here's just to give you an idea of what's in here. This tends to go over really well with clients. They like this. A lot of times they want to hand it back to you, but I printed it for the purpose of giving it to them so they can keep it. These tend not to go into the trash can. Sometimes business cards get lost. Business cards are important, but if you've got something that's kind of extra special, it's a way to kind of stay in their awareness. You won't be forgotten, and anything you can use to get yourself kind of to the top of the pile of people trying to get the job. It's gonna help you out. This is the sort of thing, you know, you're gonna need some design skills. I laid this out in InDesign. There's other ways you could make something similar to this. But I just wanted to show you some other materials. The rest of the video we're going to focus on business cards, but I wanted to give you an idea of what else you might use. And lastly, there's websites, which we'll talk some about later in the course, but that will also be covered in a lot more detail in our Photo 165 electronic portfolios class. So definitely recommend that if you really want to dig deep into websites. But as I said, we'll get to those later in the course. So first off, as many of you have probably seen, these ads pop up all the time. There's a couple of the big places that you can get business cards made are moo.com and vistaprint.com. There's a lot of other places that make cards. They're all going to have a pretty similar interface, and the whole process works pretty similar. Typically they'll give you options to use some of their designs, maybe alter some of those designs and have limited control, and then the better places will give you the option to upload your own designs. So in this video I'm going to walk you through the process of how to upload your own design to moo.com. We'll show you briefly just how to throw together something really quick in Photoshop, and save a copy that you can upload to Moo, just so you can see what the process typically looks like. I use Moo. I think they make really nice cards. They can be a bit pricey compared to some places. There are definitely cheaper places to go. But I like the way their cards look and feel, and you want to keep in mind that, you know, your business cards, as well as your other marketing materials and the way you present yourself, they all add up to the first impression that you leave with these clients or potential clients. So this is an important part of that whole package of your business and who you are that you present to these potential clients. So I'm here on Moo's site looking at their business card section. As we scroll down, you have these different ways to look to shop for your cards by paper and finishes, things like that. But if you keep scrolling down, you go to design your business cards. These are the options. You can use their templates. if you have some of the pieces here, you've got your own logo. You can start with a blank template, put your logo in, create something there in the Moo interface on their website, or you can make your own design here using Photoshop, InDesign, any number of programs that will give you some of these output options as far as PDF, JPEG, PNG, etc. So let's look at this. Click here, upload complete design, and we have our sizes. Let's click standard. If we had our completed designs already, we could start uploading them here. But I want to take a step back and show you right down here. It gives you an idea of what some of these, the safe area for your artwork and your text, where the card actually trims, and then where you need to bleed things out to. And as you can see by the dimensions, they're different sizes. The great thing is you have templates you can download, so depending on if you're using Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop. But today I'm just going to show you with a, since you're all photo students and presumably you have some experience in Photoshop, this will make the most sense. As I mentioned in one of our announcements and in one of the learning modules, you definitely at some point should check out a graphic design class where you'll go into much more depth with InDesign and Illustrator. Those are the two apps that they use the most there. So let's go here, click Photoshop. It gives us a PSD file. I've done this already, so I'm going to go straight over to Photoshop and I'll show you this is what you get. Let's zoom in a bit. Command plus. Let's get those out of the way. So now you can see this is the bleed area, trim area, and this is the safe area. They give you some great guidelines. They even give you, for those of you who know a little bit about color management, this is great that they tell you what profile they use, and you have a way to be sure that you're going to see the colors the way they will be printed. And some tips as far as flattening your image, making sure that you're not trying to give them an image that has layers in it still. You'll run into problems there. So let's go through it really quickly. If I bring back my layer palette here, and you can see I've done a few things already here. But when you think about what makes a good card, typically it's just simple, clean design. We're just going to put something together really quick. This is not going to be a really polished thing. I just want to show the basics in case you haven't done something like this in Photoshop before. So I'll show you the layers that I made. So first off, I put in a rectangle. Let's move this out of the way for a second. I put in a rectangle here of some color. I'm going to put some text on top of this. There will be more text here. And when I finish, we'll turn off all these guide layers here so that we don't see them in our final product. They're just useful right now while we're laying things out. So I put in a rectangle, and I put in some text, more text, more text, with contact information, things like that. Let's turn off all of our guides. So this is basically what we have here. I can save this as a JPEG, upload it to Moo. That's one side of the card. Then on the other side of the card we can put images. So this is what I threw together. Let's look really quickly though. I'll turn these off, and let's start from scratch. Let's turn these layers back on, so we can take the guidelines off. Just keep the bleed and trim marks here. Now to make the rectangle, first we'll have to select the rectangle tool appropriately enough.
when we select that tool up here, we get some controls for the tool. You can see here, this is the color it's going to fill it with. It's not my foreground color here. So if I click here, I can use that color. That's the one I chose previously. But if I wanted something different or to experiment, I can click here. That'll pull up the color picker. And then I can dial in all sorts of things. So let's pick a nice deep kind of muted red, maybe something like this. Click OK, and that's our new fill color. Now, when I drag in my rectangle here, there we go. It's filled with the color we chose in the color picker. Next, if I'd like to add some text to this, then we go to the text tool. Again, pretty straightforward. Photoshop is not necessarily always super intuitive, but these two tools are fairly straightforward. So I'd like to use this as kind of a backdrop. If you recall from some of the graphic design fundamentals videos that I sent you, hierarchy in design, we want to guide people's eye to the most important information first. The first thing I want them to remember is my name. If they can remember nothing else, at least if they have my name, everybody knows how to use the internet these days. They can find more about me. So they've got to go there first. Next, then I want them to know what I do, and then I want them to know how to get a hold of me. So we'll put those in here. But if I click and drag here, now again we've got controls for the type tool. So I've got a font chosen here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Let's try 14 point. This is the color it's going to use for my text. I don't want that because no one will see it. So let's click in here. I'm just going to drag this over. Let's use white. And it gives us this classic sample text. As soon as we start typing, this will go away. And that's a new thing, relatively recent in Photoshop. It didn't always do that. So if you've never seen that before, don't be alarmed. So let's put my name here. Click the check mark. I go to the move tool. Now I can position this wherever I'd like it. I like to have things sort of somewhat left justified and centered, but there's a lot of different ways you could lay this out. From there, if I go to Window and Character, get my character panel, and I have lots of controls to dictate the spacing of these. So we go back to our text tool, highlight this. Oops. Let's highlight all of it. I can control the tracking here, which is the spacing for the whole, all of our text here. I'll show you what that does. We go to 0, kind of tightens it up. We go, actually would like to have it a little bit more spread out. Then if I need to control the space between individual characters, let's go back to our character panel. Right here, this is called tracking. So I'll place the cursor right here. I don't need to highlight anything. Just place it between the letters that I want to adjust the spacing. This is called kerning. If I wanted this closer, which that U does feel a little bit further away than some of the other letters are from each other, we can do that right here with tracking. So just kind of quick overview of what that does.
So now that you know how to place some text onto our business card here, I'll just show you to save some time. I'll show you some of the other things that I placed in here. So really quick, I'll toggle these layers on. You have an idea of just a real basic layout, but it's something that we kind of have that hierarchy of guiding our eye through the most important information. Next thing we need to do, let's say we wanted to call this done. I need to turn off these other layers, because when I save these, if I save it as a JPEG, I won't have any layers, and I don't want to basically flatten all those layers into one image and have those guides in there. We don't need them anymore because we have things set up how we'd like it. So I turn those off and make sure I have the layers on that I need, and turn off the layers that I don't need. Then we'll go to Save As. This would be where we choose where we're going to save it, what format. So I'm going to go just save this as a JPEG. This is the profile that Moo uses. I don't have any layers here. Make sure none of that's, we don't have anything like that in there. Then I click Save. I've done this already, so that's why it's giving me this warning. So I'll go ahead and replace it. I want maximum size, minimal compression. Save that. Now let's go back to Moo. So we'll go to our standard. That was the template we downloaded. Click here. We're going to upload front. Let's click here and see where I put it. Photo business. There's our card. So this is the front. And this stuff, we should expect this would all line up because we use their template, so that's good. That's nice and convenient. So I've got a back side of the card. Next, we'll go to the back. They give you the option to use lots of, you can have several different images on the back. It can be kind of nice. Sometimes people will ask you for more than one card because they like some of the images on. In a way, when you use a lot of images like that on the back of your card, and if they have a lot of variety and they're pretty interesting or vibrant images, you have the ability to tap into that childhood need to collect things. So that's never a bad thing when they want more than one card. It also just gives you more insurance in case one of those cards get lost. So not a bad thing. For the back, let's just go through that step here. Let's put this image in here. Obviously, you need to make sure that your images are either the same proportions as your card or at least close enough, because you'll have the issue that something might get cropped. In this case, this is fine for now. So we've got a back. Then we would go choose what kind of paper we want. I've used this on my cards before. It's nice. It has kind of a, as they describe, it's kind of silky. It's a little bit thicker. It's something that feels nice in your hand. So it's just, you know, anything you can use to get their attention and hopefully keep it. Then we've got to choose how many you want. How much do you want to spend? As you can see, they're not the cheapest cards, but they're nice cards. Then we would have to wrap this up. As with any online purchase, you've got to, you know, pay for it and have it sent somewhere. But I wanted to give you an idea of what the process is like. If you've never ever done this before, have no idea. But they try to make it as streamlined and easy as possible. So you can use their templates. You can use your logo and use their interface to lay something out, or you can use Photoshop, InDesign, those other programs to create your own design from scratch and upload it to them. So it's nice to have that flexibility. Well, I hope this video was informative and helpful for you. If you've never done this before, again, I hope it starts stirring some ideas. You see also that it's not a terribly intimidating process. There's different ways to approach it that range from easy to more complicated, but there's lots of options and lots of choices out there for you. If you've made business cards before, then this whole process should be pretty familiar to you, and maybe you just need to go back and re-examine your cards and see if they need an update or just to be freshened up a bit with a new design. If you haven't done this before, then you probably should start thinking about what kind of a look you want to your cards. You want to start thinking about what sort of leave behind materials you want. What is that thing that you'd like to be able to give them in addition to your card that will help convince them that you are the photographer that they need, not just that they want, but that they need for the gig that they're hiring for. And for everybody, you want to just make sure that those are consistent with each other. You've got a similar look and feel across all of your materials and your website. And it's not the only step, but a very important one to have these things in place so that when you meet people, you've got something to give them, something for them to remember you by, and it's going to direct them to your website and your social media where they can look at your work and see the images that you're representing. Again, I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or post in our discussion forum. Until then, I'll see you next time or online. Have a great one.